Unknown Nights is a game that I came across as a result of scouring the web for interesting under-discussed gems. After playing it for roughly 4 hours, I'm happy to recommend this to those who enjoy roguelikes mixed with strategy. While on its surface it looks like another run-of-the-mill game with zombies, what you'll find is a simple yet deep experience as you manage your resources and try to overcome the undead horde. Unknown Nights has you navigate an overworld with branching paths that can either lead you to an event where you might find items or enemies to overcome, a town for you to recruit characters or armed militia, or a resting spot. As you navigate, you'll increase your fatigue, which, if maxed out, will begin to make your non-primary characters leave and will slowly drain the remaining health of your primary characters. This means that pathing and where you decide to spend your resources matter as they become increasingly scarce as the game carries on. In combat, you'll find yourself armed with a set of primary characters that you can separate between either archers or swordsmen. These two classes play distinct roles as the way you leverage them will determine how successful your encounters will be. To make matters a little easier, you can fire lightning arrows, which stun your enemies, or fire arrows, which will increase the amount of damage that they take. In addition to all this, you'll also control a small militia which can be sent at any point during the fight to add additional damage, though they have a substantially smaller health pool. At the end of each zone, you'll have a final encounter that will test all the resources that you've accumulated up to that point. I really like the game's combat mechanics. As I've mentioned, it's very simple as you can only interact with your characters in so many ways, telling your archers when and which arrows to shoot of your limited capacity, and telling your swordsmen when to attack or block, and telling your militia when to charge forward towards the undead horde. Yet, with these few actions, you feel the power of commanding a small army and the constant push and pull of combat based on what your enemies are doing or charging up to do provides an immersive experience. Another thing that I really liked was how each of the primary characters that you either start with or can purchase at the ends throughout the journey feel like they have a purpose, as their skills are helpful in combat, such as shooting tranquilizer shots, out of combat, such as restoring your party's fatigue and health at full rest stops, or even exploration, such as being able to automatically pick locks. The things that kept it from being considered a great game are partially some of the aesthetic choices. For starters, the game is very dark, which is fine and fits the theme, but I found it to overly do so. It could have benefited from having a bit more in terms of color vibrancy. I also feel like certain situations that the game came across was a bit too unforgiving. By this, I specifically mean that surviving by a hair is roughly the same as getting a game over, considering you lose a significant portion of your DPS or defense if a primary character dies. If you lose too many of your militia, your ability to deal with a horde of enemies is substantially compromised, considering that your ability to attack several enemies at once is limited. Far too often, I found that if I was retreating, I would be better off restarting my run instead of cutting my losses, considering that the price that I paid was extremely heavy. Lastly, I wish that there was some way of focusing fire. This is because the stun arrow, which is incredibly important, and unfortunately sometimes enemies are positioned in such a way that hitting them and the surrounding horde can be very frustrating. I have a few gripes with the game, but that should not overshadow the fact that at its core it's a very fun game. There's not much in terms of gameplay diversity, so what you see here is largely what you're going to get. Even so, I enjoyed my roughly 4 hours with the experience, and I'll keep going at it as I try to destroy the last enemy spire. Achievements and unlocks for starting items also serve as an incentive for increased replayability. At $2.99, it is a worthwhile experience that will have you constantly thinking to yourself that you could have done something to save that one character as you boot it back up again and try. If you have any recommendations for me to review, leave it in the comments section below. Otherwise, stay tuned in to Gaming in the Moment.